First thing, Kentwood jugs. Any Kentwood jugs that can be brought back over there to where the delivery's made. If you see some this morning, man, make that a priority to get all the Kentwood bottles brought back over there by the ice machine. We're just going to kind of talk about evacuation, lessons learned. We learned a few things. We did some things right. We can do some things better next time, and that's always important to review how you're doing what you do. See whether or not you can make some improvements. It looked like on the front end, we don't have a whole lot of tweaking, fellas. Good job on securing everything in the yard, topping off all the fuel, all the things that follow our plan to have us prepared to get out of here. And of course, we left at lunchtime on Monday, and that's when the fun really started. And I guess not just at work, at your house, there's probably some lessons learned, because once again, I said this ain't gonna be nothing, and it was something. Matter of fact, it was pretty badass at one point. I had a brick wall moving at my house. That's not a fun thing to watch. So, not just at work, whatever your gaps were, be a little bit more prepared next time, because the situation might be something when we're telling ourselves it's nothing. In a situation that doesn't look like much that stays on top of you for a couple of days becomes a lot more than what it looks like. So we can anticipate, but our predictions are what they are. We might wind up dealing with a lot more than we thought we were going to be dealing with. Looking on the back end of it, we tried to get people back to work because we had some work to be done. Communication was a big breakdown. I had no phone for days. I could not text. I could not do anything. I think that's where the majority of us were. I don't know that we'll be able to overcome that. Some companies came back up quicker. Some service kind of hung in there longer. But I think that's a crapshoot. We have, as of yesterday, we do have an app for Android phones to put V-Bar Safety on your phone. It's a free app. And we're waiting for Apple to review the application for the iPhones, and hopefully that'll be done today. So there'll be a free app to download on your phone to have V-Bar Safety on there. Hit one button and be able to have a link to it if the phones are working. Coming back to work, and I think what happened was the trigger was pulled for everybody to come back to work. Everybody couldn't make it back to work, and I think in hindsight we didn't need everybody back at work. So that's one of the things we reviewed on Wednesday in the office managers meeting. We have to be able to control what's going on here. We have to have goods and services to take care of the employees that are coming to work. So we had some essential personnel come out here and take care of some things. For all this job, we actually did a client test on Saturday. That was a pretty rigorous test. Everything went well, but we got to know that this work needs to be done, not just that we want it to be done. We got to justify it, because we're not operating under normal circumstances in most cases. But we got out here and got the generators running, and we got ice, and we managed to get food, and we managed to get it done. So for the guys that were over here enduring, doing some work over here and still being somewhat concerned about what you had to do at home, we appreciate it. But there may be some fundamental changes next time in how many people are available to us and who we call out. I think we're going to look at something that will probably lead us into essential personnel that live close by and that may be able to get over here without causing any grief for themselves. For anybody that hadn't heard it, and for you guys, what we want you to do first and foremost when we're in a situation like that is take care of yourself and your family. And we want you to do that. And you won't suffer any repercussions from doing that. Everybody understands that this is part of your life, but it shouldn't be your life. We want to come over here and we want to do a good job, but if we don't have a house to go back home to, and we don't have our family intact, it's going to be hard to come over here and do some work. So, all in all, good job. I know from one end to the other, a minimal amount of damage. So we got some guys that have endured some terrible damage to their homes. Missing sections of roof, water in your house. So we live in South Louisiana, and I'm 55 years old, and from Betsy to where we are today, I'm standing up here still talking about it. So again, take a little opportunity at your house and go through what worked and what didn't, and maybe where you keep everything. I decided to go get a big Tupperware box that goes under the bed and put all my flashlights and radios and everything in one location, one-stop shopping. So just try and get better at what you're doing, fellas. That's always something that'll carry you through life. Try to improve your situation. We had a little situation that I want to cover that in looking back on it, what we think happened, and it's pretty plausible. In moving one of the fuel tanks, we jerked on the hose, and that pulled on the filter, and it kind of cocked the filter. We changed the hose, we changed the nozzle on the hose, and Patrick, jump in if I'm not correct. But we didn't notice that the filter was cocked. Well, when you're going to refuel something, you actually have to physically walk up to the pump and kick the switch on. The hose was cocked, and it immediately started shooting diesel fuel out. And Jeffrey just got soaked with diesel fuel. Understand that when you're going up to that component to do that, and there's not much that Jeffrey could have done. He didn't anticipate anything like that happening to him. Just be aware of that, and maybe just kind of be off to the side, or whatever else we can try to do to minimize something happening. And that's part of our mantra: be prepared for what if. Anything can happen. So be aware of that when you're fueling up. Got a couple of cards in about grinders. One card particular to grinding blades and dropping your grinder, blades coming apart. You know, we don't really walk through the essentials every Friday in here. We should be walking through the essentials out there while we're doing our job, but it's important to look at what you're fixing to use. Make sure that you've got the right tools available to you. Make sure that they're in good shape. And if they're not, we all know what plan to follow. So inspect what you're getting ready to use. Inspect the area you're fixing to start working in. Make sure you're not going to impact someone else. Make sure you got the right tools and equipment for the job. That's part of it, fellas. That's the front end of making sure that you're going to be able to accomplish the task without any grief. Got a few new guys that'll be in today, I believe. And again, we've got some guys that have been over here in Orange Hatch for a little while. We've got some that are still quite new to us. For the guys that are over here relatively new, in spite of what you may see, you want to do things the right way. We take liberties every once in a while. We don't try to take them with big things, but that's business. We only do it when we're forced into doing it. Nobody's doing it because they're forced into doing it on their own. Time restraints and other things take place, and so we kind of pick up the pace, and that's the liberties that we take. We kind of try and do things a little bit quicker than we maybe were doing them to reach the deadline. We do it all the time. It doesn't mean you're working unsafe. It means you're working the same way you were working at the pace you were at before you picked it up a little bit. We have to do the same things the same way. It doesn't matter what we're doing. So keep that in mind. The guys that every once in a while forget need to have one of their co-workers remind them. And this is how our engagement works over here. Peer-to-peer, employee to employee. You watch me and I'll watch you. You see me doing something wrong out there, you need to approach me and you need to let me know. And I'm going to do the same for you. And that's how we're into what month? What month? With no lost time, fellas. No lost time. Tremendous accomplishment. Go back and walk through last year, we go back and walk through the year before, and although we would get up here and say it wasn't bad, it's bad when you look at nothing. When you look at stitches and when you look at broken limbs, compare those to nothing and they're bad. So continue to keep up the good work, fellas. Continue to watch one another. Continue to help one another out when we have a little gap there. And we're going to continue to have this conversation on Friday. Who else got something?
We've been working on another one of the tests in the bag. So if you go to the bag there, we be swinging collar, skids, can weights left and right. So go back there and find anything you're looking for. Keep costs and go around the crane and can weights. So
for everybody to have a basic understanding, we're going to be at the back corner back by the shield testers. This is a frame that carries a big blowout preventer. Anybody that remembers the BP deal heard all about the blowout preventer. And they're huge. It's a huge hunk of iron with a lot of weight to it. This carrier will roll the BOP out underneath the rig floor to get it into place. We're going 200% over what this frame is supposed to hold. I think that's what we're doing. 200% more than what it's actually rated for. So what we wind up doing is getting the frame up there, and then we're stacking 2 levels of can weights up there. Certainly failure would mean something's going to fall one direction or the other up there. We actually make it roll when the client gets here to show the client that it will freely roll. We push it out with 2 cherry pickers. If we do hit a hard friction, we'll put the 3rd one in there and push it with 3. And we're going to roll it out 8 feet, and we're going to suck it back with all 3 5 feet. The test doesn't take any time at all. Set up and tear down is brutal. We're dealing with those big can weights. We're dealing with a crane. We're dealing with somebody that's up in the air that's hooking up something that you can't really see. So communication is essential. But that's how the test is going to take place, and we've got this, and then we've got one after this one. So if you do go back there, and I'm not telling anybody not to go back there, give it a wide berth and stay far enough away from what's going on until you can talk to somebody, and maybe if you need to do something back there, they'll guide you through how to get it done without any impact to it. Who else? Super Cooper.
Speaking of that test, they called me to go back there Saturday to help with that test. Great job, Lil Rob and Chris, and Travis and Mikey, and they had all set it up the day before. So all we had to do was do the test and take it back and forth. And them guys worked safe, they knew what they were doing, everything went well. Brad was happy, and the client was happy, and Greg was happy. But another thing, if y'all see anything that don't look right, take care of it yourself if you can. If you can, go to the supervisor or Brad or something. Yesterday I seen, that shit tank over there on the side of the shop. No cover on it. The hole's this big. I don't know if anybody was actually drowning and grabbing it down in, or if they wasn't paying attention walking through there at night or something. Right. But I found the cover, get the hurricane blew it off. That's a week after the storm, So for a week that hole was open. So if y'all see anything like that, I put the cover back on, but maybe it needs to be screwed down or something.
Something, we'll look at something.
Secure it so the wind don't blow it away. Mainly for the night too, if they lose lights and they're walking along there.
Is that the one behind the old wind shop?
It's right on the side of our shop.
Okay.
The green tank?
Yeah.
So I put the cover on there. If y'all see anything like that, either take care of it or go to the supervisor.
It takes everybody over here to cover this whole yard, so when you see something, Cooper's exactly right. If you don't know how to proceed with what you saw, just go get someone else and we'll try and figure something out. That's a good catch.
And one other thing, at schools and stores and places like that, they have what they call Black and Gold Fridays. Now, you don't have to be into Black and Gold. You can be into blue and yellow. Whatever. Don't wear y'all colors on Friday.
So say it. Anybody else? Right, you may have to do without it for some time, but I have a good little story about that because we had ABS coming to witness that test and we had a client coming. we needed a couple extra golf carts. We got 2 from the test crew. Neither one of them had brakes. So I got to tell people, hey, you can use this golf cart, but it doesn't have brakes. Now, who wants to drive around with no brakes on something? You know? And I'm sorry, fellas. That's y'all's golf carts over there. Y'all driving around on with no freaking brakes. And we'll fix you up when you run into something. But somebody's going to jump on that cart, and they don't know it doesn't have brakes, and take off and run into something. So we need our golf carts. We need all of these things, but we also need to understand that when we have a problem with a piece of equipment, we need to get it fixed. That's why we have a mechanic department. So get in the habit of doing that. You don't run into somebody, run into something. Anybody else?
Got one thing. You know, when the hurricane came, some people were without electricity, 1 block over from it. You know, kindness in my heart, people had their kids and all, and I felt bad for them, you know, so I went ahead and I let them use my generator, my air conditioning, my fan for 3 days. These people were just so happy. After 3 days of just sitting in their garage, man, it was the coolest place. So that right there made my heart feel better. So you can do that for somebody, man. Do it for them, man.
Yeah, you get to know your neighbors a little better, you know, when things like this happen, and you do get the opportunity to help people out, and everybody was out there. Bill and I went in Winn-Dixie one day to grab some stuff to bring back over here, and they had Boy Scouts in their bag and groceries, you know, so it really brings the community together. It's a shame, you know, we can't all get along on most days, but you have a tragedy like this, and everybody steps up to the plate, so that's nice to see.
The guy who did that, and he gave us generator and everything up, it's like,
It wasn't anything fun. I have an 89-year-old father that I was having to try and tend to, and I was a little bit worn, man. I wasn't a happy camper there for a little while. You know, it's hard to just maintain. Anybody else? Y'all have a good day, fellas. Thanks.